has cost me a little bit, just a bit, just a wee bit. All right, it is 7:45. I'm a little late tonight. I was waiting for my energy drink. Yep. Yes, I am drinking an energy drink because I have a lot to do tonight. I will be up until the wee hours of the morning. All right, live streaming in both places. That is awesome. How do you feel about Muslims in America? I think we all know. I think we're pretty well set. What you favorite energy? Solar? Hydroelectric? I like all energy, really. I don't know. I'm new here. Oh, well, I feel as though it's really a bad idea to take a group of people who have absolutely nothing in common and force them into the same location at the same time. Well, this energy drink is pretty damn good. It's a C4. It's watermelon flavored. Yeah, here's the thing. If both your religions say everybody's fine, everybody's good, it's all good, it's no big deal, well, then you're fine. If one of those religions says kill the infidel because they can't coexist with you, then that's a problem. And so, no, I don't have a lot of love for diversity. Diversity is not the strength of the United States. It never has been. When you have one group of people who treat women and children like possessions, and the other group of people who have invented everything worth having for the last, say, 500 years, including televisions and interstellar travel. So, yeah, that's how I feel. I don't hate them, but I certainly don't want to live anywhere near them. Is that wrong? Let's take a look and see what we've got going on in the neighborhood today, as far as let's see. By the way, did some really interesting homework last night on what the word negligible. Yeah. The word negligible means something so small, trifling, or unimportant that it can safely be disregarded or ignored. What percentage of the United States electrical grid is hardened against EMP or solar flares? Based on a 2026 assessment, a negligible percentage of the United States electrical grid is fully hardened against high altitude electromagnetic pulse or solar flares. So basically nothing. So what does that mean exactly? That means that if you're not, no, Bob, 10% is not negligible. Negligible is such a small amount that it doesn't count. So a couple percent probably is more than negligible. Yeah, right now we're in a situation where we are about to go back to war. Just so we're all clear, let's not beat around the bush. In Islam, we treat women like gold. I don't know what you're talking about. Of course you don't, because your religion teaches you that lying to an infidel is actually a really, really honorable thing. And by the way, when you say like gold, you don't think that I know that the Taliban passed a law that women are no longer allowed to speak in public? They're not allowed to speak in public. Huh. Did you know that there? Whatever your name is? Since when? When did the Taliban pass the law that says women are not allowed to speak in public? Late August of 2024. Would you like me to read a little more? The Taliban formally enacted a law banning Afghan women from speaking loudly or singing in public. Oh, speaking loudly. Now, isn't that bullshit? That's crazy. All right, let's see if The Guardian agrees with that. Oh, no, it says here that the Taliban's laws now prohibit women from speaking or showing their faces outside their homes. And it's been condemned by the United Nations and met with horror by human rights groups. Gee whizzikers. Okay, well, now that's interesting. They walk around in tents. Yeah, basically. They are veiled. All the Abrahamic faiths say we are to be veiled. Really? Is that true? I want to quote the part where Jesus said that women have to wear veils. Let's check that. Huh. Did Jesus Christ say that women have to wear veils? No, he did not say that. All right, Nellie, well, you're full of shit. But we knew that because anybody who defends anything that's as crazy, batshit, balls out nuts as Islam is obviously not all there. Also, in Christianity, women are not allowed to talk. Search it up. Oh, really? Is that true? Oh my gosh. Did Jesus say that women are not allowed to speak in public? No, Jesus did not teach that women are not allowed to speak in public. Oh, look at that. I already got a strike for bullying and harassment. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? So, if you're one of them, you can come on here and lie to all of us. But if you're one of us and you try to tell the truth to one of them, you get hit with bullying and harassment. If a woman is in Christianity, she must marry her. Search it up. Wow, that is exactly wrong. That literally what you're saying there, Theon, is literally exactly the opposite. Corinthians, Jesus didn't say anything in Corinthians. Oh, I see. You're trying to pull one of those fast ones. Okay, I gotcha. Well, then, don't talk to me about what Jesus said. If Jesus didn't say it, it doesn't matter. We're called Christians because we believe what Jesus Christ said. Well, I think that is probably true. TikTok is a little nuts nowadays. Capital currency, everything is outstanding. Just having a little debate about crazy people and crazy belief systems that allow you to kill people. Well, I'm pretty sure, Nellie, that Jesus didn't say that. A Jewish guy named Saul of Tarsus said it. Oh, that's right. He changed his name to Paul from Saul of Tarsus. And what was Saul of Tarsus? He was a Jewish guy who killed Christians for a living. But no, that's okay. I never said Jesus said it. Well, then let's not talk about it. If Jesus didn't say it, I don't give a shit. Who started the worst wars in world history? It was white people. Oh my goodness. Look at that. Hey, I got one. Let's go all the way back to 12,000 years ago. No, we better go back 50,000 years. Oh, that's right. I don't give a shit because I wasn't alive then. I'm alive now. And now there's only one religion out of the big three that isn't completely insane. That's it. See, now we're in the age of reason. Now we're in the age of science. Now we're in the age of we're not monkeys anymore. So let's talk about what makes sense, because your religion is interesting. Does it make any sense? No. Taking away or adding to the word. Nelly, what are you talking about? I don't even know what you're talking about. Taking away from the word. I'm not taking away from the word. See, that's the problem is everybody's like, oh man, this is what Christianity stands for. And it's like, really? Show me that. Well, this other guy said, oh, did that other guy speak for Jesus? No, he didn't. So what did Jesus say? Because if you're quoting Paul, then you're a Paulinian or whatever you would call yourself, a Corinthian. I don't care what. Apostle Paul said it was a disgrace for a man to have long hair. I said, Jesus said that. Huh. Okay. Yeah. Bottom line, when it comes to stuff like that, it's like, look, I get it. Paul thought he was doing, the best he could. And he threw in his 2 cents worth, and some of what he said is very nice. But it's not Christ. So if you're a Christian, you do what Christ said, period. You take what he said literally. Now, the parables about him, whatever. Other people's stories about his magic deeds don't impress me. What he said is the message. So cut all the bullshit out. Just cut all the bullshit out. See, I'm a logic guy. That's what I do for a living. Now, if you want somebody who uses magic to figure out the economy, I would hope that you might not listen to me anymore, because logic is what helps you figure out where the economy's going. Yeah, well, that's the thing. I think he should have had his own media. Wouldn't that have been nice? Where it's just, look, I mean, there are Bibles where it's just, hey, bottom line, this is what he said, period. Well, what about all the miracles? Nope. The Jeffersonian Bible. People take their oath on the Jeffersonian Bible. I mean, Trump didn't. He wouldn't put his hand on the Bible, which does make me wonder. Like, everybody puts their hand on the Bible. Again, a guy named Barack Hussein put his hand on the Bible, but Trump wouldn't touch the Bible when he took his oath of office. Isn't that a little weird? Isn't that a little doesn't that give you a little insight? Because, look, if you were Jewish, you wouldn't put your hand on a Christian Bible. That would be sacrilege. That would be apostasy. That would be a very bad thing to do. But he didn't do it. So if hypothetically his number one goal was to serve his new master, which kind of looks like he is, then he wouldn't put his hand on a Christian Bible. That'd be a bad thing. I don't know. I honestly don't care. I don't care what he is. What I care about is what he's doing. Now, let's see, where is oil today? Oil is $99. 99 bucks. Well, the upcoming war is set in stone now. It's absolute. There's no question about it. We are going to war. We're going to put boots on the ground. We'll put boots on the ground where we can, which means we'll come in through Iraq on the borderland of Iraq, where there's a small break in the mountains. And we'll come in through the southern part next to Pakistan. As far as silver, what will it do for silver? You can expect the price of silver to double over the next 6 to 12 months. It may take a dip when the war's announced. It may. Now, I'm not guaranteeing a dip, so don't bet. Don't wait. If it looks like it's going up, like it has in the last, I don't know, what is it, 3 days? Yeah, it's up 11% in 5 days. The world is catching on to the fact that we're fucked. Period. That's it. There's no sweet, polite way to say that. We have literally destroyed the economy in such a way that we cannot recover. Period. So if you don't own silver, you are in really, really deep shit. This is going to lose value faster than you could possibly imagine right now. Nobody knows this because nobody's paying attention, apparently, but Japan dumped $70 billion in T-bills, American T-bills, last week. They said they had to protect the value of their own currency. Well, they could have sold cash, but no, they sold our debt. Now, as long as they're selling our debt, along with China selling our debt, the two major holders of our debt, that's basically an economic weapon. Because all we have to do is wait for Japan to sell a little bit, and then if China jumps in and sells a lot more at the exact same time, that's going to drive the price so far down, which means that nobody's going to buy our new debt that we're putting out at whatever percentage. So we're going to have to raise the percentage. Well, nothing smells like a desperate economy more than offering 8% on government bonds. But my point, of course, is if banks get involved in this, why would you loan money to anybody? Well, I'll give you an example. Some poor schmuck comes to me and says, "Hey, man, my FICO score is 700. Okay, that's pretty good, buddy. And I'd like to buy a house for, $500,000. Okay. Well, yeah. How much did you want to pay for interest? Well, I was hoping to pay 7%. What? No, I could get 9 from the government. And trust me, their FICO score is 10,000. Well, it only goes to 850. Then their FICO score is 860 because it's the government. And they literally print these. So I know I'll get some of these back. So sorry. I mean, if you want to pay me 12%, then yeah, I'll loan you money for a house. But it's got to be enough that just buying bonds is no longer really an option. But buying bonds is so safe, though, that I'm going to really have to get you to pick up that soap for about 30 years. Oh, but wait. If we're gonna do 10% and we're gonna do $500,000, oh yeah, that's 30 years is not gonna work. We're gonna have to go 50. We're gonna go 50 years. Okay, well, welcome to the new reality. So basically, you buy a house, and then if you're healthy, you might live long enough to pay it off. Maybe. But of course, then you add in property taxes, which are basically rent, and you're never going to pay your house off ever. It's a funny thing that you brought up donuts there, Samuel. because I just made my kid go get me a couple of them. It's a midnight snack. This is my midnight snack for spending an hour a day on the new recumbent bike. I figured, a couple donuts, I can afford that. But to more to your point, yeah, if I remember when donuts were a dime, not a dime a dozen, but I do remember when a good donut was a dime. Glazed. Do I look that boring to you? Hell no. I got a chocolate bar and an apple fritter. I would have gone with what are they called? Bavarian cream, but apparently they were out. So, bottom line is, I remember when donuts were a dime and houses were $100,000. And this is in my lifetime. I'm not old. You talk to the old farts. I mean, we're talking people that are in their 80s. And look, people are living. If you assume that we're pushing 77, 78 years old as an average lifespan, that means fully half of the people in this country are going to live longer than that. So if you take care of yourself, you got a real shot at 100 if you take care of yourself, if you exercise, if you don't smoke, if you do all the right things. So based on that, you talk to somebody who's 80 years old right now, and you say to them, when you were a kid, what did you pay? Well, let's see. 70 years ago was what, 1956? 1956. This is just to give you an idea. What did a donut cost in 1956? 5 cents. So you could buy 20 of them for $1. You could buy 20 of them for $1. In 1948, the original Dunkin' Donuts restaurant opened with donuts priced at 5 cents and coffee at 10 cents. Well, we all know that coffee's gone up. I mean, it's about $2 at Circle K. Now, if you're going to Starbucks or you're going to Seattle's Best or whatever it's called, well, you're just a bougie moron. Just fucking shut up. Don't complain about anything that happens in the economy, because you're pissing away so much of this. You're just pissing it away. You're throwing this literally down the toilet, because every 10 days, you could literally buy one of those instead of all that stupid coffee. Or you could make it at home. But my point is this: even at Circle K, it's what, $1.89, so call it $2. So it's gone from 10 cents to $2. That's a pretty big jump. That's what is that? It's not 200, it's 2,000%, give or take. I know I'm rounding. So 2,000%. Price of silver, 1956 per ounce. 91 cents. Whenever I do this, it makes me laugh. Samuel, make sure you send me a text first, so I know you're not calling me about my car warranty. Now, listen up. 91 cents, okay? Right now, it's pushing $91. That's a 10,000% increase. Think about that. So, yeah, your donut's gone up by 200%, or 2,000%. That's a huge jump. 2,000%? Well, it's only gone up 2,000% if you're using these. Think about it. No, okay. This is actually kind of funny. If you'd had $1 back then, you could have bought 20 donuts. If you'd had $1 worth of silver, which was 1 ounce, How many could you buy now for $2? 160. So you could buy 20 for $1 back then, or 160 for that same dollar. For that same dollar's worth of silver. Has silver kept up with inflation? You bet your ass it has. It's crushed inflation. What's happening in Germany? Germany's getting ready to go to war. They've decided that they're gonna retool now that they've destroyed their own economy. Now that they've pushed away Russia, which was probably the dumbest thing they've ever done, ever. They've decided that they want to get onto a war footing, so they're retooling all of their factories to make bullets and tanks and whatnot. Really, really stupid idea. But I don't run Germany. I don't live in Germany, and I don't vote in Germany. So if the Germans and the French and the English want to do something incredibly stupid, like flood into Ukraine and decide that they're going to start a land war with a titanic country like Russia, with I believe it's 275 million now. What is the population of Russia today? Well, it's not even half of what I thought it was. 143 million people. 143 million people. Well, 143 million. Hello, Mary. All right. What is the population of Germany? 83 million. By the way, there are a lot of people in Germany who don't want anything to do with going to war with Russia. Unfortunately, it seems that instead of focusing on what they should be focusing on, which is digging their way out of this stupid green economy they've killed themselves, just asking Google. You know, a lot of what you ask AI nowadays is just total crap, and Google's part of that. But for the most part, if it's innocuous enough, the numbers are going to be fairly close. I wouldn't ask them anything about national security, since they're so deeply involved in national security now, and spying on us, etc. But name a platform that's not. That's just where we're at now. This is a natural progression of any government. Everybody thinks, oh, well, you know, the reason that we have to take out someplace like Iran is because they have a dictator. Really? The reason that we had to go into Venezuela? Well, because Maduro was bad. Really? Xi Jinping, he's bad. Mm-hmm. And Lindsey Graham, that guy from Florida, Feinstein, whatever his name is, the guy who said that he'd be just happy as hell if all the kids in Gaza starved to death. I believe his exact comment was, starve away. Yeah, that guy is something else. Okay, so let's get back to the economy, because that's where the metal, or the rubber meets the road. Really, that's where the big difference is going to come. So when we actually get involved into this ground war, and it becomes obvious that nothing's going to move through the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, look, you have to understand, there's a lot of people who don't really understand what's going on in the Straits of Hormuz right now or inside the Persian Gulf. There's 20,000 people stranded on ships that don't have food and water. There's 20,000 people stranded on ships that do not have food or water. They are going to die if they don't get help. Problem is, they don't have internet access either. So they're using ship-to-shore radios. Well, there's only so many channels that you can use at one time to radio back to a port somewhere, hopefully nearby, and say, please send us food. Well, how many ships are we talking about? It's only like, what, 1,000 ships? Think about you get in a boat, okay? A big skiff. Let's say it's a decent sized one, 50 foot. But it's a big open boat, but it's 50 foot. And I pile a bunch of cargo in there of food and water. And then you go to the side of a tanker and they drop down a line and you hoist the stuff up. And okay, now they've got enough for a few days. They can survive, maybe even a couple weeks. Okay. How long did that take? A few hours? So then you go to the next one and the next one. First of all, how many people are doing that? Because it's not very many. Secondarily, who's giving them all of this free food and water? There are going to be deaths just from people starving or dying of dehydration on the ships sitting right now in the ocean, just sitting there. And they can't go anywhere. They can't go back to port. The ports are like, we can't take you. Some of the ports don't even exist anymore. So, okay, what are we going to do? You're going to get on the radio and you're going to keep asking for help. And who's going to send it to you? The United States Navy? No, they can't operate right now in the Persian Gulf at all. Let's hope they know how to fish. And let's hope those fish just happen to have a gallon of fresh water on them at the time. Because the reality is, water in the Persian Gulf is the most important thing. Now, it turns out that we just found this out today, that the UAE was helping the United States and Israel attack Iran, which is why when Iran found out, they attacked the UAE and they blew up one of their major terminals. Now, when they did that, Saudi Arabia and Kuwait saw that, oh shit, we're really vulnerable here, and said, you know what, United States, you can't fly over our country. If you're going to attack, Iran, you got to go around. Go around? You can't go around? Well, then you're going to have to find some other way to attack them because you can't use us. Huh. Okay. Well, that sucks. Well, it's nice to say that they all have desalination plants, and some ships, some of the newer ones, do have water makers on board, but not all of them. I love it when people say stuff like this. All right, Dr. C Sports, I see sports spots. I assume you're an optometrist. Can you do me a favor? Can you at least say what you think is wrong? Because the word wrong in and of itself doesn't mean, what's the word I'm looking for? Dick. Doesn't mean anything to anybody. But we appreciate your comment. Wrong. Now, if I'd only said one thing in the last 20 minutes, well, we'd all know what you think I'm wrong about. Even though it really doesn't matter because I'm not wrong. Thanks for playing, though. Conies. Conies. Dan the Man, I don't really know what that means. So help me out here. In Conies. Conies in Coney. No. Yeah. That didn't help. Read above. I just did. Okay, so back to what I was talking about. Right now, we're in a situation where we have kicked the hornet's nest. Hot dogs. Oh, okay. Well, I have no idea what you're talking about when it comes to hot dogs, but okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Bishop. Appreciate that. So here's where we're at as of right now. We're going to have a land war in Iran. We'll put boots on the ground. We won't do the classic Marine Corps, Iwo Jima style invasion, because that would be idiotic. The idea of invading a country of 93 million by going onto a beach that, well, first of all, there's no beach. It's mountains straight down into the ocean. So amphibious assault's not going to happen. However, we could go through Iraq. We could fight our way into the mountains of the border between Iraq and Iran, set up a forward operating base, and then from there we can start sending out tons and tons of weapons to anybody who doesn't like the current regime and try to destabilize it. And we can do the same thing with the people in the South, which, by the way, are troublemakers anyway. And Iran's never really had a good relationship with the people in the Southeast, right by the border of Pakistan. So we can hit the ground there, push our way in a few miles even, and then hold that area and say, okay, we're not going to try and go all the way to Tehran because that would be idiotic. There's just too many mountains, and why would you do that? So we hold a forward operating base, and then we flood the country with weapons from the South. You're paying for all of this, by the way. So when I say hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars, if you're on board with this war, then you shut up right now. Just shut up, because you are literally going to pay for every dime of this. Nobody else is going to help. Israel doesn't pay for wars. Israel gets us to fight their wars for them and make us pay for them. How? Magic? An amazing personality? Oh, we're still talking about the AMW. Okay, I got you. I got you. 6 hot dogs for $1. Yes. No, I totally agree. In 1971, I was alive, but I might have gone to A&W. It's entirely possible. Well, blackmail, yeah. Blackmail is part of it. I mean, Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein obviously is alive. That's clear. And anybody who's done any research into that goes, oh man, that is the dumbest idea I've ever heard. What? Really? No. And then the next thing you know, you're going, oh my God, he's alive. He actually is alive. Yeah, he's a hero. He's a hero to his people. He's a hero to his country. I mean, come on. The guy literally single-handedly hooked hundreds and hundreds of super important industrialists and politicians. I mean, my God. Another thing is, obviously, you can't expose who he found. You can't release the Epstein files, because now that the other guys have them, now that Israel's not the only people who have them, now that the United States government has them, the United States government can use that stuff. It's like, look, now you've got 2 masters, and either one of these masters can make you do whatever they want. Now, which one's more pertinent at this point? Well, if Israel came out and said, hey, the Epstein files had this guy in them, how do you know that? Who gave you those? Well, we all know the answer. So, but the point is that they can't really do that. So they've lost a lot of the leverage that they had, because what are they going to do? Expose you? They expose themselves. But the CIA, now that they have this information, They're right across the street. They're right there in Langley. That's right down the street from Washington, D.C. So who's in the Epstein files? You'll never know, because the moment you know, the gig's up. That person's life is over. And because their life is over, because they're going to be prosecuted, because they're worthless at this point to humanity, they can't be manipulated. What are you going to do? Expose them? You already did. They're already going to prison, or they're going to Epstein themselves, which means they're going to disappear into Israel. But either way, you've lost your leverage. So, yeah, well, look, do you know how many gay men there are in the Republican Party that are super religious, very Christian, very anti-gay, very, very conservative? The hypocrisy is so insane. There are pictures of some of these guys that are these stalwart Republicans. Exactly. Yeah, definitely not Lindsey Graham. When he described how we're going to blow the Iranians to their knees, I couldn't help but laugh. Right. Like the guy who got caught on Grindr, or the guy who's clearly visible in the picture from the gayest gay bar in Washington, D.C. And he's a super hardcore Republican. It's like, wait, aren't Democrats supposed to be totally okay with gay dudes? Like, they're cool with gay dudes. So why don't gay dudes become Democrats, and then they can just be gay dudes out in public? Oh, Tom Cotton. I'm not saying he's gay because I don't want a lawsuit, but boy, if there were ever a guy that was gay and caught with a picture of himself in a gay bar in Washington, D.C., that might be the guy. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. So, and of course, you're never going to get these guys to admit who they are or what they're doing. It's like that guy Foley who, it's like this guy is just, when you go back and you look, though, I remember when Congressman Foley was talking about Bill Clinton, and he was 20% were born that way. The other 80% got sucked into it. That's pretty damn funny. When that guy Foley was talking about Clinton, and he was saying, we always knew that Bill Clinton was a bad boy, but we didn't know that he was a bad, naughty boy. And I thought to myself, when he was saying that, why are you talking like that? You're a Republican from like Montana or something. You're supposed to be like some cowboy. And he was like, you know he was a bad boy, but he's a bad, naughty boy. And I thought, okay, this guy's hiding something. Yeah, sure enough, he's the one that got busted in, I think, Minneapolis, trying to do something inside a bathroom. Not a unisex bathroom. Spokane, was it Spokane Airport? Whatever it was. Got to be careful. Got to be careful. If you're going to be doing naughty stuff like that in public, you probably shouldn't be anti-gay, number one, because that just makes you look like a hypocrite. And number two, I think that's illegal as hell, so shy away from that as well. But yeah, bottom line is that Republicans have a long and rich history of being closeted, which is just stupid. Look, if you want to see what you should do if you're gay, Barney Frank is a perfect example. First openly gay senator or congressman? Congressman, openly gay congressman. And everybody loved him. Exactly. Everybody loved this guy. They were like, look, Barney Frank he's a good person. And he talks funny. We like how he's got a lisp. So, and he wrote that banking bill that's so awesome back in 2008, the Banking Protection Bill. What was it called? Co-author of the Dodd-Frank Act. That's right, the Dodd-Frank Act. And then he joined Signature Bank. Signature Bank. You know, Signature Bank, right? The one that was shut down, that went belly up. I believe it was the largest bank failure in history, run by this guy, Barney Frank. It does make you wonder, like, really? Because here's the thing. Let's see. He was on board of directors, and he supported loosening regulations on mid-sized banks, including 2018 legislation that rolled back parts of his own 2010 financial reform law. Really? He voted against himself. Very interesting. And what's the deal here? How big? How big a bank failure was Signature Bank? Whoa. Wow, the third largest bank failure in history. Barney Frank, you knocked it out of the park, you little lispy weasel. The Dodd-Frank Act. Wow. Did the Dodd-Frank Act create bail-ins? Hold on there. Did the Dodd-Frank Act create bail-ins? Yes. The Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act of 2010. Holy shit, what a big title. That sounds like you just want to wrap yourself up in that to feel safe at night, right? Like if I were in a trench right now in Ukraine and I saw a bunch of Russian drones coming, I'd want to wrap myself up in the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act of 2010, because that shit would keep you safe from anything, right? The purpose. The goal is to ensure that shareholders and unsecured creditors, including bondholders and potentially large depositors, bear the losses rather than the taxpayers. Did you wait? Unsecured depositors, if large, hold on. Does the Dodd-Frank Act make depositors in a financial institution creditors? Yes, it does. So Title 2, Section 210 can effectively treat depositors as creditors, specifically for funds exceeding FDIC insurance limits, by enabling bail-ins, where unsecured creditors and large depositors bear losses to stabilize the financial institution or the failing institution. But it doesn't say specifically that it's for people that are over the FDIC limit. It says that's basically what it's intended for. Let's see. Deposits. Okay. Orderly liquidation authority. So here's an interesting one. If they are protected by the FDIC, what is the total value of assets that the FDIC currently has? Larry Craig, thank you. And it was in Minnesota. Okay, I got the airport wrong. I got the Wiener Cleaner incorrect. Let's see. What was the total value of assets that the FDIC has? Okay. Whoa. They have a total of $153 billion. Sweet. What? Oh, this isn't good. Total insured deposits. Fund balance, $153.9 billion balance is an increase of $3.7 billion from the third quarter of 2025. That's good, right? They've got money. They're not broke. Total insured deposits. While the fund holds $154 billion, it supports $10.76 trillion in total estimated insured deposits. Yeah, Bob. Mm-hmm. Now you know why people come to my channel and why they're actually even ready to wait around for a little while I quit fiddle fucking around and get on my live stream every night. They could never cover the deposit they insured. Now, come on, nay. Why are you being so nay negative about this? Think about it. You got $154 billion. That's a lot of money. Now, it's not 10,760 billion. So they've got 154 billion and they're covering 10,760 billion. Silver's just doing what it normally does in times of what the hell's going on. You'll see silver just sort of splashing around like everything else. When everybody's convinced that, oh shit, this is really going to get bad and inflation is absolutely going to eat us alive, that's when you see people start to really run for silver. But right now, oh man, the market's just going crazy. Oh, there's no reason to get into silver. Look, the market's still up again today. Well, look, I'm not saying you can't cover 10,760 billion with 150 billion. I bet it'd be hard. You'd have to cover it really thin, like paper thin. Well, let's just do the math, shall we? Yeah, now, Sam, 86.6. Yeah, add 15 to that because that's what they're paying for physical metal in Shanghai. Add 10 to that. That's what you're paying for physical metal in the United States. See how that works? That number is total bullshit now. That's what COMEX says it's worth. Very thin. Okay, so let's do it this way. All right, let's go 10 billion 760 million. Will my calculator do this? Okay, hundred thousands, millions, billions, trillions. Okay. Oh no, that's 107 billion 600 million. Okay. So then we'll just go divided by 15 instead of billion, 150 million. See how I did that? That's why I get paid the big bucks. Okay, equals. Okay, so all right, so what they have 154 billion goes into what they're covering 717 times. So conversely, could we say that they're covering 717 times what they actually have in the bank? Because I remember going out with this girl who was very cute, really cute. And she would call me all the time and go, my bank totally screwed me again. And they ran up, $200 in bounce check fees. And I go, really? They screwed you again? And she'd go, yeah, because they took out X amount when they knew that, I was supposed to have a deposit coming in tomorrow, and they weren't supposed to take it out until the day after that. I go, damn, they took it out 2 days early again this month. Huh. So needless to say, when I see this, I think this is except, she was super hot, dumb as a bag of hammers, and in her 20s. This is the Federal Depository Insurance Corporation. Well, if it's the Federal Depository Insurance Corporation, I have to imagine that that they must know. They must know that we're onto this. Like, we know this is bullshit. And of course, my favorite video about them is this one. No, that's very funny. Think about that for a second. When he says, when you're talking about a group of people who might have more full faith and confidence in the banking system than the people in this room, and the people in that room are the board of directors of the Federal Depository Insurance Corporation. Well, keep in mind when you say that it's federally insured, it's the Federal Depository Insurance Corporation. It's not the federal government. It's like the Federal Reserve Bank or Federal Express Delivery Service. Federal Express isn't federal. How the hell do they get away with using the name? I can say I'm federal. Federal grant. Okay, well, what does that mean? Nothing. So, what is Federal Reserve? Well, the Federal Reserve is the reserve for the Federation of States. Okay, so it's part of the federal government. No, it's a privately held company. Any idiot knows that since 1913. It's a privately owned corporation. No, it's the fucking Federal Reserve. That's the central bank for the United States. Yeah, it is the central bank. And no, it's not part of the government. And the FDIC isn't either. Bingo. Yeah, I mean, the problem is, of course, you got to be careful what you say is federal, because like federal cheeseburgers, nobody's going to eat that shit because they're going to think, oh, government cheese. I ain't eating no government cheese, damn it. You ain't feeding me no government cheese. Don't know why I decided to channel an 85-year-old black man that smokes cigars for a second there, but yeah, things are getting spicy around the world. Now, here's the good news. The good news is in the United States, we will take over all of Central and South America. We'll probably get shit. I always look over my shoulder at my map, which isn't there. It's not Manitoba. I forget. Anyway, it's one of the western provinces of Canada. It's where all their wealth is. Bottom line is, it's where they have oil reserves that have literally more oil than the United States. It's just behind Venezuela and Saudi Arabia, and they're getting tired. They're getting real. Alberta, thank you. Yeah, they're getting real tired of the bullshit. They're getting tired of being told that they're stupid rednecks, and that even though they pay $15,000 a piece in taxes every year, that's the average, and they're supporting a government that wants to basically import millions and millions of child fondling curry munchers, and just absolutely inundate the country with people who have no values to share whatsoever. Now, some of those people are absolutely fantastic people. They're men among men. They're beautiful women who have amazing manners. And some of them are absolutely the most diabolical heathens you could imagine. And they look at the Western world, and all they see is they just see nothing but plunder. Oh my God. These people are so soft-headed and they're so soft-hearted that I will be able to manipulate and destroy them. And that's what they come over for. They're not refugees. They're doing fine in their own country. Here's the crazy part. You want to see something nuts? All the refugees in England, the hundreds of thousands of refugees from Pakistan that live in England, when it's Pakistan Day, the flights between England and Pakistan, flying from England to Pakistan, are booked solid months and months in advance. Now that's really interesting. You're a refugee. Oh, yeah, I'm a political refugee. If I go home, they'll kill me. But what about if you go home the minute you get your green card? Well, oh no. I mean, I'm gonna go home, but that's only for Pakistani Day. Oh, and then because you're safe that day? Well, I'll be there for 2 weeks with my wife and all 14 of my kids. But then, yeah, then I have to come back right away or they'll kill me. Oh, well, isn't that strange? Yeah, refugees returning home, but only for holidays. Yeah, it's bullshit. That's what it is. Now, the question is, I understand people with a soft heart, okay? I get it. You want to help people that are in need. That's not what this is, though. Somebody is flooding Europe with people who hate Europeans. It's not an accident, okay? Fool me once, you know the story. So fool me 7 or 8 million times. It's impossible. It's completely impossible. You can't get me to believe that the governments in places like Norway, where the crime rate was incredibly low, or Sweden, where it was the lowest crime rate in all of Europe, once they saw what was happening, once they saw that an Algerian immigrant was 18 times, 1,800 times as likely to commit a crime as a native born citizen, once you saw that they were 100 times more likely to commit a violent crime than a Japanese immigrant, you didn't recognize the danger? Once Sweden went from the safest country in all of Europe, do you fucking understand how completely unbelievable that is? There are parts of Europe that are incredibly safe. Sweden was the safest place, and now it's the second most deadly place to live. What? Yeah, because they imported a bunch of Somalians, and these people argue over territories and drugs. And they decided that the best way to fight, because firearms are so hard to get, was to use fucking hand grenades. So these gangs throw hand grenades at each other. That's how they settle disputes over territory for selling drugs to each other while living off of everybody else's work ethic. That's not an accident. That's not an accident. That's an invasion. That is an invasion. Now, the question is, who is held accountable? You can't say, oh, it's the liberals. Oh, it's like in this country. Oh, it's the Democrats. Bullshit. Bullshit. It's not that simple. It's not that simple. You can't just say, oh, AOC. AOC is the reason. AOC has a college degree. Don't give me this bullshit about she was a bartender. And Joe Biden, nope, that ain't it. That ain't it. Why would Joe Biden want immigrants? Oh, because they're all going to vote Democrat. How about where do they get their hands on hand grenades? That's a very good question. So, in order for me to believe that it's Obama and Biden, you would have to say that they were actually in charge of this country. Does anyone believe that Barack Hussein Obama or Joseph Robinette Biden was actually the head of the United States government in complete command and control of all of the decisions? Not a fucking chance. When a billionaire walks in the room, he or she is in charge, period. I don't care what level of politician, bureaucrat, bullshit artist you are. You recognize that when somebody who is a real titan of industry walks in the room, they are now in charge. That's why they don't have public meetings. That's why when they go in to meet with politicians, they do it privately. That's why the day that Dick Cheney took office as the vice president, he held a 6-hour-long meeting with the heads of all of the major oil companies that do business with the United States, and not a single word of it was written down. And when a Democratic senator confronted him and said, hey, we want to know what was talked about in your office for 6 hours, Dick Cheney said, and I quote, "Go fuck yourself," and walked away. Well, he used to be the CEO of Halliburton, the world's largest oil field company. Now, strangely enough, I know this sounds crazy, but our national parks used to be sacred. If it was designated a national park, that was it. That's it, man. You don't fuck around in there. You better not spray paint a rock or you're going to prison. But somehow, right after Dick Cheney had this meeting, the laws were changed. You can actually go and do fracking in a national park. What? No way. That's got to be illegal. You can't go to Yosemite National Park and yes, you can. You fucking well can. Well, wait a minute. How is that possible? You're not allowed to put up fencing around your drilling rig. You cannot impede anyone's use of a national park. That's how they got around it. So you can frack. Yeah, absolutely. You want to drive chemicals down into the rocks to break out the natural gas? You want to use toxic chemicals that are going to end up in the aquifer? Fucking go for it. Just don't put up a barbed wire fence to keep people from accessing the drilling rig, because then you're impeding their ability to use the national park. And that's a no-no. That loophole is this fucking big, and they managed to squeeze every major oil company through it. Yeah, good luck. Now, here's the best part. The best part is right now, when I tell people, hey, listen, you got to go buy some rice. You got to go buy some beans. Get some pinto beans. Get some kidney beans. Buy some lentils. And, if you live with other people, the beans and the lentils, just make sure that you like your bedroom is well ventilated, really. But tons of protein, lots of calories. And trust me, we're not going to go through what other countries are going to go through. Okay. We're not going to face a famine. Bangladesh, hundreds of thousands of people will die in the next 12 months because of the war with Iran. Remember that I said that. Millions of people around the world have already died and they don't even know it. They're walking around fucking dead right now and they don't know it. But they're going to run out of food and they are going to die and they're going to watch their children die because of what we did in Iran. The world needs fertilizer. The world's fertilizer has completely stopped for months. And if we start shipping it now, it's already too late. Everything in the world is on time delivery. Well, guess what? There's no on-time fucking delivery anymore. So what about all these countries who have relied on a few countries? I'll give you an example. Ukraine makes 150% of the wheat that it needs to survive. Think about that. Chew on that number. They don't make 40% or 50%. They make 150% of the wheat that they need. That is a fucking huge amount of extra wheat if they have fertilizer. France makes 140% of the wheat that it needs to survive. The United States makes 120%. Now, I know that doesn't sound like a lot, 120%. 20% of our needs, 20% extra of what the United States needs. We got 330 million fat fuckers. We eat a lot, and we still have 20% too much for ourselves to consume. We have an enormous amount. Well, then we got nothing to worry about, right? Wrong. Because all of the countries who make 5, 10, 15, 20% of the flour that they need, of the wheat that they need to survive, will do any fucking thing they have to get the wheat to survive. Now, remember that you and I are the ones who got sucked into this whole, hey man, the free market economy is the only way to go. Fuck helping people. It's every man for himself. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You are now going to compete when flour is $30 for a bag of it, when rice is $60 for a 20-pound bag. Now you start to see it's not our wheat, guys. It's not our wheat. We grow it all over the United States. All of our corn, all of our oats, all of our potatoes. But the entire world eats that shit. Now, most of the time we have so much of it that we can just gorge ourselves. Man, we just eat until we can't eat anymore. Goy slop for days. The problem is that other countries are going to be starving, and they'll be willing to pay prices that we would never pay, but we're gonna pay. We have to. Remember, it's a competitive system. So if another country is willing to pay $100 a barrel for oil, I don't care if it came from West Texas. If it's West Texas crude, great. It's still going somewhere else. Where's it going? Germany. Germany doesn't have any oil, guys. They don't have any fucking power. Their energy is so backwards now. They really bought the bullshit. The German people really bought this whole climate change, got to go green bullshit. And now they're stuck with solar in a country that's cloudy 60% of the time, and wind, which doesn't work unless the wind's blowing. They have no energy. They needed the Nord Stream pipeline in order to keep their factories running. Porsche, think about this. Porsche is not some little bullshit industry in Germany. When you think of Dr. Ferry Porsche and you think of Porsches and Volkswagens, and it's like, holy shit, this is the German identity. Yeah, they're leaving. Porsche is going to be made in the United States now. Do you think that the Germans are happy about that? They've gotten their asses handed to them. And what did they do wrong? Well, the only thing I can see is that they overtaxed everybody so that they could pay for a bunch of immigrants that nobody wanted to begin with. And now everybody hates their government. By the way, in England, Nigel Farage just absolutely decimated Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer is the communist kid on the block who said that, immigration's their greatest strength, and he wants more and more and more people from the Middle East to come because apparently 250,000 unsolved rapes of underage girls, unsolved, 250,000 unsolved. And by the way, the reason that they're unsolved is because, and this is according to the police, the police commission actually admitted this about a month ago. They didn't investigate, and they blamed the children for what happened because they didn't want to seem racist. You can literally go over there and commit SA on a 14-year-old girl, and if you're Pakistani, it's okay. You won't get prosecuted because nobody wants to seem like they're singling you out. If you're white, you're going to prison. That to me actually sounds like complete insanity. Like, I can't imagine a world where that makes any sense. But that's exactly what they said. And this is because thousands of young women who were 13, 14, 15 years old kept coming forward. This is in England. They kept coming forward and saying, yeah, I reported what happened to me by this gang of Pakistani men, but I was called a tart, which of course, basically is the same as slut over there. If you're a tart, you're basically you're that girl who's asking for it. And so they would be called these names, and it was inferred that, well, you wanted it. And it's like, wait, how many times did this happen? Thousands and thousands of times. And so the question becomes, whose rights are more important? Some little girl that's born in England, or a bunch of guys who literally stole an inflatable raft and rowed across the English Channel and then just ran up onto the beach and claimed refugee status? How does that make you more important? So here's my point. In a way, I think that people who have autism, I think that they're very clinical. They're very analytical. Sometimes they don't get humor. They don't get sarcasm. I'm very lucky because I do, but they're very, very analytical, and they can smell bullshit a mile away. And here's where I'm at with this whole thing in terms of immigration there. Whenever anything, and this is in anything in my life, if something doesn't add up, there can only be a couple of reasons. And that's it. I mean, there's no other way around this. It's almost like physics. There are certain laws that everything in the universe has to follow. So either it doesn't make sense because I don't have all the information, and if I had the balance of the information, something that for some reason I'm either not privy to or I just haven't found it yet, then everything would make sense about what I'm seeing or hearing. Or B, I'm being lied to. That's why it doesn't make sense. The reason the story doesn't add up is because it simply doesn't add up. It's fictitious, and there were pieces of this fictitious bullshit story that they forgot to sort of tidy up. So the loose ends are not missing pieces of evidence. It's not factual. It's just somebody fucked up. And so when I look at the immigration crisis in Europe, and I see how much the governments are shoving these people into these societies where they absolutely don't belong. They simply don't belong. Look, if I talk to somebody on the street in Frankfurt or in London or in Paris, and I say, what do you love the most about Western civilization? And they say nothing. What do you mean? Don't you love our society? No, absolutely not. Well, why don't you love our society? Oh, because it's not Islam. It doesn't follow Muslim theology. Therefore, it has to change. Wait, you came to my country and now you're telling me I have to change because you just moved here. Yeah. That's like when people move next to a drag strip and then they file complaints with the city that the cars at the drag strip are making too much noise. If you don't like the noise, don't move in next door to an airport. Don't build your house at the end of the runway. If you don't like Western civilization, don't run here from the country that you're from and claim that you have to be here for your own good, because it doesn't make sense. So if 1,000 people did that in France, I'd say, well, those 1,000 people are probably going to stand out like a red, they're going to stick out like a red thumb. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, what about 10,000? Yeah, 10,000 people. If you had 10,000 people, let's say Algerians, because France used to own Algeria, that was their colony. And when they gave it back, they felt bad, so they let Algerians immigrate to France. So these Algerians immigrated to France. Now the Algerians just to put this in perspective, a lot of these people have never seen a toilet. They've never used a toilet. They don't have indoor plumbing. Now, I know you're thinking that's bullshit. There's indoor plumbing in Algeria. Yeah, of course there is. In the cities, in nice areas, there is indoor plumbing. You have water heaters, hot and cold running water. There are places in Morocco that are like Beverly Hills. Those people don't need to immigrate as refugees to France. That's not who France is getting. You're not getting the best and brightest doctors. What you're getting is you're getting people who have lived in mud huts in villages. And yes, they do shit outside. I've got videos that I just watched of people who just went over to Pakistan for the first time. And they're in Lahore and they're like, this is fucking crazy. This is fucking nuts. And there's a guy blurred out taking a dump right in the middle of the street behind them. Now, granted, he's up against a trash can, so only the people on the other side of the street can see him. But yeah, is he taking a dump? Of course. Do they do that in India all the time? Absolutely everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. Oh, do they do it in France? I don't know. I don't know. I know that the moment apartheid ended in South Africa, the people who literally, and I've got pictures of this because I've seen pictures of it because my former girlfriend from way back when, her parents were very wealthy and they went to South Africa. And when I talked to her father about it, and I said, yeah, South Africa, that apartheid thing, what's your opinion? He said, oh man, it's absolutely necessary. Well, that was not a very popular opinion back then. Now, of course, he's, extremely wealthy Republican. And I said, okay, why do you say that though? He said, I'll show you why. And he broke out some pictures and he showed me, he said, look at the beaches. And I said, man, it's beautiful. That's a beautiful place. He said, you got to be careful, great white sharks, but yeah, the beaches are beautiful. And I said, okay, I don't understand. He goes, look at this one. It's a fence line, a barbed wire fence that runs right down into the ocean. And on the far side is the black beach. And he said, you could smell that beach because people just took shits on the beach. There was garbage literally from where it turned from rocks into sand. From there all the way down to the water line was garbage and poop. And I said, Jesus, that looks horrible. And he said, yep, absolutely. And I said, okay, so are you saying that like that's the whole other part of Johannesburg or wherever? And he said, yes, absolutely, 100%, period. Well, I thought that might be a little racist, a little harsh. Now that I see what South Africa looks like today, where you've got 100,000 people in a stadium chanting, kill the white farmer, jumping up and down, screaming, kill the white farmer. And you go out into the city, all of the electrical systems are gone now. You get power maybe a couple hours a day. Everybody that lives in or near the city has huge steel gates. On top of that, they have huge steel doors. Then they have doors that are steel security doors that lead from the first floor up to the second floor. It's absolutely insane. You lock yourself into your bedroom at night. This is with more security than anybody in the United States has. Like, there is no place. I don't care if it's south side of Chicago, where it is. There's no place in the United States where you need this amount of security. But in South Africa, you need this amount. Who to blame? I mean, yeah, but the problem is you can't say, well, the government's in charge. Well, okay, the government's in charge, but if the government is a bunch of corrupt warlords and all they have to do is say, I'm a Zulu, vote for me. Oh, okay, he's one of us, vote for him. Okay, but why isn't the power coming on? Well, because The guy who's in charge, he may be in the same tribe you are, but he's still stealing billions of dollars a year. And they're not spending a dime on things like power stations or dams or railways or any of the infrastructure that you need to keep a modern city running. Now, add on top of that, that anybody who wants can just go steal all the copper lines from any place that's not protected by guns or by barbed wire, and you start having real problems with your electrical system. Look at what the most beautiful places in South Africa were like in the 70s and 80s, and look at what they're like now. I've done it. I've compared the exact same street corner 25, 30 years ago and now. And you'll see a building that's beautiful and it's all mirrored glass and it looks like anything from any downtown area in the United States. And now the building's half gone and there's trash piled up from literally the street all the way 6 feet high up against the building. What the hell? The rest of the street's not even recognizable because most of the buildings are gone. And it's like, okay, what happened here? What is the problem with like, how did we get from a fully modern, beautiful place to this? I would dare to say that all of it is worse than it was in the 70s. Because the reality is, but it's not just a corrupt government. Because people who are educated, people who care about their country, they do the homework so that you don't get a corrupt government. That's the problem. When you look at something like witchcraft in South Africa, Google it. Google witchcraft in South Africa. There are literally spells that cannot be broken unless you sacrifice an infant. I'm not joking. This shit's not funny to me. It's disgusting. And it makes me very, very fucking angry. Because people are like, yeah, end apartheid. Okay, how'd that work? How well did that work? Well, you're being racist. No, I'm saying that this group of people is completely and utterly unrelated to modern civilization. They have no business in modern civilization. They're still practicing witchcraft and sacrifice. They're still saying things like, kill the white farmer. Why are they saying kill the white farmer? Apartheid ended 40 years ago. There's no white people in charge anymore. They haven't been for a long time. So why kill them? Well, because that's just what they want to do. Okay, and then once you kill them, well, then we'll kill each other. Why aren't you doing that now? Yep. Okay, well, it's just nuts. It's like, okay, well, you guys wanted your country back, and you wanted white people after 300 years to get the hell out. There's a Chinese guy who does business because whites have all the land. That's very funny. They have virtually none of the land anymore. Sounds like Chicago on a Saturday night. Well, the South Side, yeah. The crazy part is when you look at the people of South Africa, the native South Africans, did you know that 80% of them weren't originally from South Africa? They moved to South Africa. I'm talking about the tribal leaders and the tribes that moved there. They moved there specifically because South Africa was becoming such an amazingly wealthy country. But they didn't live there. So now it's their country. And white people are apparently evil. Although what's interesting is if you look at the country next door, is it Zimbabwe? Zimbabwe is now begging white farmers to move back now that they've massacred them and run them off. And their economy has collapsed by 90%. And now they're saying, hey, guys, we didn't mean like to leave forever. We just meant, leave for a little while until we'll come back. That's all we need. Just come back. you've seen pictures of the USA where things are bad. That is absolutely idiotic. You should be embarrassed. You should be embarrassed to say something stupid like that. Where are you from? Because if you think that there are any parts of the United States of America that look like South Africa, you're crazy. You are absolutely out of your mind. We got, like, I'll give you an example. Los Angeles, yeah, there's some nasty shit going on in LA, homeless people. But the worst it's ever gotten in Los Angeles, it's 100,000 times better than a place like Johannesburg. There's absolutely no question. Canada, okay, so if you go from Canada over to New York, do you see a huge difference? No, absolutely not. Obviously never seen a picture of living conditions of Bantustans. Bantustans, huh? Or Bantustans? Show me the living conditions of Bantustans. Living conditions in South African Bantustan homelands were characterized by extreme poverty, severe overcrowding, and underdevelopment. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, overcrowding and land scarcity, repression. Okay. Okay, but what about now? See, this is the problem. That's the problem. Until apartheid ended. What year did apartheid end? 1994? Brother, we're closing in on half a century. That's 3 decades. 3 decades. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Come on, man. Are you kidding me? From Congo tier to developed in 40 years? What Congo tier? Literally, when apartheid ended and literally white people started to flee from South Africa, what happened? Well, of course, the people from the Bantustians, they moved into the nicer areas, and they kept up the streets, and they kept up the garbage pickups, and they took care of all the infrastructure. No, none of it. Absolutely none of it. Well, China, I can tell you this. The Chinese, the things that they get away with saying about Black Africans is shocking. It's shocking. And what they say to them is shocking. There's a series of about 9 hours of videotapes of a Chinese guy who's trying to do business in Africa. He's sent over there by his company, and he's doing heavy construction and all kinds of stuff. And man, it's brutal. Like, he's talking to these people and he's like, you people do this and you're idiots because you do that. And why can't you do this? And he's just beating on them constantly. And then he talks about it. He's like, look, you give these guys a brand new truck, and within 2 years it's destroyed. In my country, this truck would last 50 years. You give it to these guys, 2 years tops. And then he shows them all standing around over and over and starts yelling at them to get to work. Oh, the Bantus. Okay, I got you. No, I have actually heard of that. So it's amazing, though, because, he's talking to some of the foremen who are Black South Africans, and he's saying, look, what the hell is wrong with you guys? I pay you. You go out and you blow your paycheck in 48 hours. You get completely drunk so that you can't walk. And 48 hours later, you're broke, hungover, and you come to me and ask me to buy you cigarettes. What the hell is wrong with you? You're grown-ups. I'll say, well, I mean, look, I can't judge. When I was 17 years old and I was in the Marine Corps, yeah, I didn't manage money very well. You know, my paycheck would last me maybe a week or two. Hell, even after that, you know, I was in sales and I'd make way too much money way too fast. I have to go out and blow it on something stupid. But then I grew up. It's the way it is. Too scared to let me up too. I don't even know what that means. Let you up. You can write a comment anytime you want, man. In the 80s and spent vacations in Johannesburg, Sun City, Gordon. Yeah, well, I don't think you'd be welcome there now. If Trump giving, is Trump giving China Taiwan? Yeah, no question in my mind. Well, it's not like we have a choice. Okay, basically, here's what we're doing. Okay, we've got the Western part of the world. It's ours now. We've made it very clear. We'll just take what we want. Thank you very much. Part of the Monroe Doctrine. This is our backyard, and we will control it. And if Russia wants a piece of this, well, no. If China wants a piece of this, no. If India wants a piece of this, absolutely. Go through us and we'll give you what you need. But you don't go directly to Mexico anymore. China, you don't go to Mexico anymore. That's not how it works anymore. This is our hemisphere. And we will do whatever the fuck we want in our hemisphere. And if you don't like it, try and stop us. Period. So because of that, they actually call it the Donroe Doctrine instead of the Monroe Doctrine, because Donald Trump is so completely like over the top with it. Like he has really gone to the extreme with it. And so, because the idea is, were we always planning on taking Greenland? Of course we were. Of course we were. Now, personally, I think we've made a fucking huge mistake, because we've let the Russians and the Chinese suffer. Now, obviously, we didn't make China suffer too much with Venezuela. We took away 80% of their energy, but we let them have all of the silver in Venezuela. That's just a fact. There were so many huge cargo flights that went out of Venezuela that were considered mining equipment that went to China days before we took over, actually the day before we hit Maduro. And one of those cargo planes, an Antonov, which is a huge cargo plane, went directly to Russia. With mining equipment, that's bullshit. Mining equipment is big, it's heavy, and it's ubiquitous. You don't have to go to Venezuela and fly it all around the world. That's not how it works. You assemble it, you put it on a ship, you get it to where it's going, and then you use it until it falls apart. You don't take it anywhere. So when they said mining equipment, and then they took that mining equipment to the airport in Venezuela at 3:00 in the morning under a heavier guard than Maduro had for himself. I mean, the entire airport was completely covered in military. Ours, theirs, you name it. And these things were loaded with mining equipment. We sent all of the silver from Venezuela to China and a little bit of it to Russia. That was our way of paying them off for just not bringing it up. Just don't make too big a fuss. Of course, you're going to say to the UN that you don't think it's right, but are you going to threaten us? No, of course not. Well, okay, but what else is in it for us? Well, if you let us take all of what we want in the new world is our world. That's it. So if you think that Argentina is Argentina, Argentina is now part of the United States. So is Brazil. You can be as proudly Brazilian as you like. Just don't fuck with us, because you're ours now. Everything in the Western Hemisphere belongs to the United States of America from this day forward, period. You think that you want to stay neutral? There's no neutral. It's us or it's them. And you don't want to say them, Cuba, because look what happens. We'll kill your children. We'll starve your whole fucking country to death. We don't care. That's the attitude that the United States has. Well, okay, so that's pretty hardcore. How exactly is it that China and Russia have seen this? India doesn't care. India is playing the long game. India is playing by far the most intelligent game of all. And that's because they've been around for a long time, and they are very smooth when it comes to the way that they interact. So they're not making any big moves. They're not making any big claims. They're not complaining about what's going on in the world. They're simply watching. And by the way, they're soaking in all the resources that they can very quietly. Can we have some oil from the Persian Gulf? The United States says, well, we've restricted the. Yeah, okay, go ahead. You can have some. Can we get some from Iran? Because that's who we buy from. Iran? Well, no, we have a total embargo. Okay, go ahead. Send some Iranian ships over to India. We'll let them. Okay. Well, what about Russian oil? Oh, well, shit, no, it's just huge. Okay, yeah, you can have some Russian oil too. India's getting everything they want. Now, they might be paying a little more for it, but think about it for a second. What have we said no to India on exactly? Like, where have we drawn the line and said, India, you're our bitch? Nobody says that to the largest country in the world. And don't get it twisted. They are the largest country in the world by population now, by far. It may turn out that China, as with everything, has been lying. And you know what? I love the Chinese people. The Chinese government cracks me up because their attitude is it's one for all and all for us. That's it. And they're willing to lie, cheat, and steal. They don't care. They could care less. So, okay, whatever. Hey, they're out for number one. They want to stay the Middle Kingdom. They want to stay where they are, in control, comfortable. They're not looking to take over the world. You have to understand something. They've never wanted to take over the world. They've never tried to take over the world. Hell, they didn't even really retaliate against Japan after World War II, after the incredible atrocities that were committed against them. Nope. Just let it go. We don't like you guys, but whatever. Now, what happened during the Chinese-Russian war? Oh, they handed China their ass. I mean, they handed Russia their ass. They just kicked Russia's ass. Okay, well, what happened when they got into their little tiff over the island up there in Siberia? I forget the name of the island. Back in the late 60s, China handed Russia its ass again. So could they take over Mongolia? Of course. Could they take over Turkmenistan or Tajikistan or any of the stands? Of course. That's not their intent. Their intent is to bring in resources from other places and to build their little middle kingdom into the greatest kingdom in history. Not to go outside and try to take over everybody else's kingdom. They don't care about that. Empire's not their thing. It's their empire that they want to build right where they are. So don't really have to worry about them. What about the Russians? Well, the Russians at this point have a country that is arguably better than any country in Europe. It's cleaner. It's got much less crime. It's much safer, especially if you're a Christian. Although Strangely enough, the Muslims in Russia seem to get along with the Christians wonderfully. No problems. No religious fervor issues, none of that shit. Now, the cost of living is a little high in some parts, like in Moscow. But Russia right now is, and so when people say, well, Russia's going to try to take over Europe, no, they're not. That's not their goal. Now they may take over Ukraine at this point because the Ukrainians have caused them so much fucking pain and suffering over the 20% that they did want that they may go balls to the wall now. We'll see. Well, they see the problem is that in Russia there are no Muslim hordes, as you put it. It's understood, and this is the interesting thing about Europe and the United States. It's understood that Russia is a Christian nation, period, and that if you're Muslim, you are more than welcome to live in that country. However, you will not try to destroy the country and remake it in your own image under any circumstances, or you will find yourself at the end of a very large boot. The Russians don't fuck around. They don't play. They are brutal when they need to be. So that's exactly right. In Russia, you stay in your fucking lane. And as long as you stay in your lane, it's a beautiful place to live. It is absolutely fantastic. You can walk through Red Square or anywhere else and not have to worry about being mugged or about some immigrant trying to essay your daughter, because nobody puts up with that shit. Well, the Ukraine is causing them some discomfort. I wouldn't say harm. I'd say discomfort, yeah, because they keep going after the same petroleum refining plant on the Black Sea over and over again, 6 times, I think, in the last 8 weeks. And now there's a shitload of acrid smoke in the air and a lot of oil on the ground, and it's now leaking into the Black Sea. Yeah, you see, that's the thing. People who have been to Russia, people who know personally, people who have been to Russia or lived in Russia, it's not at all what the propaganda says. Was it in 1979? Yes, absolutely. What about during the time of Chernobyl? Yes, absolutely. Has it changed dramatically? Yes, absolutely. Christianity wasn't even allowed back then in the USSR. But then communist countries don't like religion, period. They think that religion is poison. That's a quote. And so now it's a Christian nation, just like the United States. And I thought when Trump took office that we were going to find this sort of this friendship, this partnership with the Russians, because they are so much like Americans in so many ways. They love their sports. They love to drink too much. They're loud. They're obnoxious. They're funny. They're Christian. They have the same exact values we do. I mean, what do they want? They want a nice life. They want to be able to go out to dinner sometimes. They want to hang out with their friends. They want a big family. They want exactly what we want. Well, when you have two civilizations that can go together that well, okay, but what about holidays? Well, they have different holidays. Okay, so is it going to cause us to kill each other? No, of course not. Okay, but do they have other customs that don't fit with us? Well, yeah, the foods are different. The beet soup, borscht. That's not something you kill people over. Okay, but what about if you went and lived, I don't know, in Jerusalem as a Christian, and you ordered bacon in a restaurant? Yeah, you are in deep shit. Like you don't do that. Don't. Cultural sensitivity. Okay, but are there places? Um, Stalin was a very religious person. Yeah, I assume you knew him because I've never heard that before in my life. But was it that? Did he read that part of the Bible where it said, "Thou shalt kill anybody he suspects of ratting him out"? 40 million Russians. Anyway, um, yeah, there are places in the world where you can go, and you have to be extremely careful of cultural sensitivity. I'll give you an example. If you go to Turkmenistan and put your hand on someone's wife, even if it's just because you lost your balance and you step back and you put your hand on her shoulder to steady yourself, you're in deep shit. You better hope that they understand that you're an American and that you don't know that you just did something that could cost you your life or cost her her life. That's insanity. So you talk to a girl, she doesn't answer you, but you talk to her, and then her father looks over and sees that you two are talking. Now, he doesn't see her answer you because she's terrified that you spoke to her in public. Does that lead to an honor killing? It could. It could. Yeah. But honor killings don't actually happen anymore. Guys don't actually kill their daughters. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Even in the United States, it still happens. It just doesn't happen as much. But if your daughter goes outside and starts talking to some random guy, not kissing, not sleeping with, not touching, just talking, then yeah, you have to, in order to save your family's honor, stone her to death. But don't worry, because if she's your daughter, if you have sons, they are required to help you. So your sons will actually help throw rocks at her head until she's dead. Now, I don't know about you, but when I hear something like that, I think to myself, that's the most completely insane thing I've ever heard in my life. That is so beyond cultural sensitivity. You want me to be culturally sensitive about that? Mm-hmm. Well, what if a little girl is showing promiscuous? What do they call it? Um, uh, no, it's not promiscuity. It's precocious. Precocious. When you go through puberty, you go. Maybe it is precocious puberty. Then it's game on. But what if this child that's showing this precocious puberty is only 8 years old? Oh yeah, it's still game on. She's showing all the signs. She wants it. Okay, wait. At what point does my disgust overwhelm my cultural sensitivity? Like, seriously, because I don't want anything to do with anybody whose holy book says that that's appropriate. Period. Well, we don't mean it. Well, then take it out of the book. Well, we can't take it out of the book. Okay, well, then you mean it. Well, we don't really mean it. Uh-huh. Right. Sure. You don't mean it. But you refuse to take it out of your holy book. Got it. That is nuts. That's the craziest thing you can imagine. Like, so, a buddy of mine who I was in high school with him, joined the Marine Corps with him. He's an asshole. He always was. I say past tense because he ended up probably killing himself on accident, trying to do something really horrendous and then tried to make it look like somebody had tried to kill him, but he ended up actually killing himself. Really sad story. Massively abused as a kid, had all the talent in the world. Didn't matter. It taught me a lot about what parenting can do. But he made a joke once, and he was the guy who always made the most inappropriate jokes, always. And one day he saw this very pretty girl walking down the street, and he said, "Yeah, she wants it." And we're like, "Dude, what? Yeah, oh, why? Because she's walking down the street in broad daylight." And he goes, "Nah, she was wearing lipstick. If you're wearing lipstick, you obviously you're begging for it." And we laughed at how like fucked up that was, because it's just such a misogynist pig thing to say that it actually shocks you. And we knew that he wasn't serious. He was just being his asshole character, his dirtbag character. And, he even made a joke that he did dirtbag really well. Okay, well, and by the way, he was an actor, so we knew that he was just acting like he meant that, but he didn't really. But there are people in the world whose books that theoretically were written by God say that, and they're not joking. They're not joking. Well, what's precocious puberty? Well, she was only 8, 9, 10 years old, whatever. She wanted it. It's like that. Okay, where's the punchline? Because it better be good, because that's not the kind of humor that really anybody finds funny. Oh no, there's no punchline. I'm deadly serious. That is, in our holy book, it says that if they display this type of behavior, then you can treat them as your grown adult wife, so to speak. But they're children. Like, that's a child. Like, and I don't mean like, oh, you're acting childish because you're only 18. Or in some countries, hey, if you're not married by 15 or 16, you're considered old. And I understand there, if your lifespan, if the fucking lifespan in your country's 39 years, like it is unfortunately still to this day in some African countries. Well, look, if your lifespan's 39 years, when you're 15, that's your midlife crisis point. Holy shit. Now, is that terrible? Yes. But my point is, I see why some cultures still consider 15 or 16 old enough for marriage. There's a lot of countries that consider that age old enough that you can consent to marriage. Okay. 8, no fucking way. There's no fucking way. No way. Period. No way. 9, 10, 11, 12. No. No, you're talking about basically a baby here. But it's in the book that says God thinks that's fine. Okay, that's not true. Well, according to my God, it's true. It's like, well, then you're reading from a book that wasn't written by who you think it was written by. Well, it also says that if you don't believe what I believe, eventually I got to kill you. What? Yeah, that too. Got to kill you. Okay. Nope. Look, I don't care who wrote your book. They're full of crap. Like, that's not God. God says you're either one of my people or we got to off you. Well, isn't that funny that you might guess I was talking about the Quran, but yes, I'm also talking about the Talmud. The Talmud is part of the Torah, Talmud, all of the learning of the Jewish people. And it says that even the best Gentile should be killed because you're Gentile. And by the way, Gentiles are absolutely unequivocally, when I say Gentile, I'm talking about specifically Nazarenes. See, they don't call us Christians because Christ means Messiah in their world. So you can't say Christ because he wasn't the Savior. Jesus was a complete bullshit artist, black magic bastard. That's according to their writings. That's exactly what they say about him. He was the son of a Roman soldier, a Roman centurion. So when you look at that and you go, wait a minute, are you saying that you don't believe my religion? Oh, look at that. They got me for hate speech. They just restricted this for hate speech. So you're going to have to send out lots and lots of shares, sharing this. And by the way, if you're not subscribed to my channel, you definitely should, because I post a lot about a lot of stuff. And it's all stuff that I've done tons of research on. He's a great drinking companion. Who, Jesus? Well, I imagine he would be. You imagine having a beer with Jesus? That'd be awesome. That would be super cool. Just asking him questions. I mean, the guy obviously had a pretty good understanding of like what the world should be like. And he said, look, love thy neighbor, love the elderly, love the crippled, love the crazy. Well, Sue, it's just limping along. I mean, it's up 11% in the last 5 days. Silver always kicks ass. It'll double at least by the end of the year because of inflation. Well, the Jewish hat. Glad we have freedom of speech. Yeah, you like how they restricted my freedom of speech on here? They called it hate speech. I'm not hating on anybody. I'm saying, look, I don't approve of it. I don't like it. Well, you have to like it. What? Yes, you have to like it. But what if I don't like it? It doesn't matter if you don't like it. You have to like it. Well, that seems a little crazy. Oh, no, don't go there. Don't go saying that it's easy to force you to love somebody who absolutely hates you. And by the way, so we're clear, in the Mishnah Torah, which is is it Mishnah? One of the greatest rabbis in history said that the only time that you can use Nazarene's name is as a curse. And every time he wrote Jesus of Nazareth or Jesus the Nazarene, he would put in parentheses next to it, may his bones be crushed to dust. This is how the Orthodox and the ultra-Orthodox feel about Christians. Seems crazy, right? I mean, it sounds like, no, that can't be right. That can't be right. Do your own research. You can take my word for it, but you don't have to. I mean, you can always look it up. There are a lot of Jewish scholars. There are still a lot of Christian scholars who never bought into the whole dispensationalism thing where we've got to do everything the Jews want us to do because they're God's chosen people. No, they were until we were. And now we are, and they're not. And the reason they're not is because they didn't listen to Jesus. So simple, really. So the Old Testament talks about murder and hate and killing and whose wife you can sleep with, and if you're gonna fool around with your brother's wife after he dies, you can't spill your seed on the floor. What? Wait, is this book was written by God? Yeah. Are you sure this isn't like a Larry Flint Hustler thing? No. This is God. God wrote this. Okay, go on. Yeah, because the thing is, now that your brother's dead, you have to take care of her, and so while you're diddling her, you have to do your deal inside of her. Just, can't put that stuff on the floor. I don't remember ever even wondering about that. Trump's not falling for it. You have to understand something. Donald Trump understands that his life hangs in the balance here. The very first person to come visit Donald Trump as president of the United States was Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, you remember that right before the president took office, there was a pager attack where the Israelis had planted small bombs inside of pagers. They'd used small amounts of PET, very high explosive. I was in demolitions in the Marine Corps. I got to blow stuff up. So I understand like really, really high explosives and how incredibly strong they can be. Just a tiny bit, and you can do an enormous amount of damage. Killing a person takes, you probably, depending on what it is, something the size of a pea, just a normal sweet pea. You can kill somebody depending on where it is on their body when it goes off. So they kill hundreds of Hezbollah senior officials, a bunch of civilians, but who cares? They were probably either Muslim or Christian anyway, so either one, it doesn't matter to them. And so they kill all these people with these pagers. The day, perhaps like Charlie Kirk, I mean, he had just turned against them, and that was it. So the first person to come visit the new president of the United States is Benjamin Netanyahu. And what does he present the president of the United States with? A golden pager. Now, I don't know if you see how clear a message that really is. But if somebody handed me a pager, it's like, oh, and by the way, we've got one for you too. Yours is special. And don't worry, this one won't blow up yet. And by the way, everybody in the cabinet that saw this transaction take place had the same reaction. And the reaction was, oh shit, that's a threat. Like, that's a fucking direct threat. That's not a gift. That's not funny. That's not cute. Why would the president of the United States care about how cleverly they had disguised these little bombs as pagers? We have no interest in that. Doesn't show us anything. Like, okay, we got all kinds of crazy nanotechnology too. We can make you shit yourself from space if we want to with high energy beams. But so what's the point? Why are you giving me a pager to remind me that you can kill anyone anywhere remotely? Oh, that's right. I almost died in Butler, Pennsylvania, and nobody knows anything about that kid. Nothing. No one knows anything about him, except that both of his parents were, clinical psychiatrists. And that he had a couple of cell phones. Just a kid, couple cell phones. Did they have anything encrypted on them? Oh, everything was encrypted on them. Yeah, they were encrypted. That's weird. Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's really weird. It's almost like that whole thing was set up as a way to just sort of show him what could happen. But the strange thing is, no, actually, the phones were purchased in China, or the pagers. The pagers were purchased in China. And on their way being shipped, apparently they stopped over in some country that during the time they were in a warehouse, unprotected, the Israelis went in and rewired them just a tiny bit so that if you called the right number or sent the right signal, they blew up. That's pretty crazy. Now, what's even crazier is Donald Trump has never spoken publicly about the assassination. He doesn't know. He doesn't know anything about the investigation because there is no investigation. What have you heard about the investigation into Butler, Pennsylvania? How much? Really, ask yourself, like, when was the last time you saw on CNN the breakthrough in the investigation into Butler, Pennsylvania? About the new information that came out from the FBI about this kid in Butler, Pennsylvania. Just some rando kid. Okay, so tell me more. Oh, there is no more. What do you mean there is no more? Who did he go to the gun range with? I don't know. Who did he practice with? I don't know. Well, who was he friends with? I don't know. What was his social media footprint? None. Zero. That's not true. Turns out he did have a media footprint, just like every other teenager in the world. Okay, so what would that look like? Nobody knows. What? Like, wait a minute. Who the fuck is this guy? He's a ghost. He's a fucking ghost. So a ghost got an AR-15, went up onto the roof of a building, walked around for 5 minutes in broad daylight in full view of the Secret Service and local police and Secret Service snipers and local police sharpshooters with people on the lawn 200 yards away from the President of the United States, and they were screaming, "There's a guy on the roof with a gun." It's funny. It's so unbelievable. It's so completely unbelievable that it's laughable. So, was it all just staged? Well, I mean, for this kid Crooks, it wasn't staged. He took a couple bullets to the face, so it wasn't staged for him. Okay, was the shot was that staged? Well, I mean, I don't know. I've never had part of my ear blown off, so I don't know how fast they heal or how completely they heal. I don't see a hole in his ear, like where you'd have one of those stupid ear ring things that like holds your ear apart. So whatever, those idiots. One of those gauges. I don't see that. I don't see his ear hanging down. I don't see it like half as long as the other one. Nothing to see here. Like it. It's good stuff. So it just makes you wonder, why doesn't Trump want to know? If somebody takes a shot at me, I want to know, man. Like, who sent you? Who sent you? You're not here of your own volition. You're not just some 18-year-old kid who's a 4.0 student who really doesn't seem to have any political ties with anybody and doesn't give two shits about politics. And then you just decide one day that you're going to load a van full of explosives. Okay. Where'd you get those? Don't know. Wait, what van? Well, the van that he had parked. He had a van full of explosives? Yep. Parked right there where the president was? No, no, that was parked miles and miles away. How the fuck did he get there? Oh, he rode a bike. Wait, what? Why did he drop off the van with the explosives and then ride a bike? Well, because it's a good question. I don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody knows what his plan was. Nobody has the slightest idea what happened. Nobody knows anything. And nobody seems to care. That's the part that gets me. This close to taking the president's fucking head off in public. First time CNN had been to a presidential rally for Trump in 5 years, because they were so left that they didn't want to hear a word he said. I don't give a shit about we're not ever showing up at your stuff again. You call us fake news. So they hadn't showed up at one of his rallies for 5 years. But man, they just happened to be there with their new high-speed 4K cameras rolling everything. Huh. Boy, that's good timing. That's some good timing right there. And what does Trump think about this? Does he want to know who tipped off somebody at CNN? No. Anybody investigated why they showed up at this rally and none of the others? Since this one wasn't even that big, they knew it was going to be 85 fucking degrees outside and humid. Who's going to show up at this rally? This is tiny. If you want to show up at a rally, show up at one of the big stadium rallies at night when there's going to be 80,000 people there. Nope. This is a little fucking farm town in the middle of nowhere. Let's go to that one. All right. Well, whoever became the president would have suffered this same fate. Because the reality is this. That golden pager, in my opinion, was a very, very direct statement to the president of the United States. And that is, this could be yours. Don't do anything that would make us have to make the next one yours. We paid $240 million into your campaign this time. Do what you got paid to do. Help us out here. Help a brother out, And that's exactly what it looks like. It looks like they basically said, we know how you are, Trump. We know that you make deals and break them all the time. We know that you say things you don't mean all the time, that you're that guy who says one thing and then does another. Unpredictable. Everybody loves how you negotiate. Don't pull that shit with us. Don't pull that shit with us. You gave us your word and you will do it. I don't care how bad doesn't matter how bad it gets. Okay? Doesn't matter how bad it gets. We'll make sure that you get a third term. You make sure you don't fuck us. Okay. Well, that's it. That's right. They made him an offer he absolutely couldn't refuse. And he gets to be a president that gets a third term. Lucky him. I don't know that he'll survive it. I mean, literally, physically, he's starting to fall asleep in the office. He did it again today. Sitting in the Oval Office. Women talking behind him about fertility. I don't know what, but anyway, he just nodded off right there, fell asleep right in his chair. Okay, he's starting to get there. Now, here's the thing. Do I blame him? Do I say that he's as mentally incapable as Biden was? No, not at all. But if you had any idea how much pressure that guy's under right now, you think he believes the bullshit he's spewing? It's the most beautiful war that's ever been waged from any war ever. And we won it in the first 5 minutes. 5 minutes it was over. But we just decided, for fun, we're just going to keep scoring points. Are you tired of winning yet? Because we've won this war every day. So, but it's the most beautiful war. Like they have no navy. They don't have anybody. There's no air force. They have no air force. There's missiles. They few missiles, but they've been shooting them at us. But that's just a love tap. He's not that stupid. He's trying to spin this so that it doesn't look like the absolute ridiculous thing that it turned into, which is if we slap Iran, they're not going to try and slap us back. They can't reach us. We're on the other side of the ocean. They're going to slap UAE. They're going to bitch slap the hell out of Saudi Arabia. They're going to drop bombs on Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, all the places that aren't Shia. Their attitude is, hey, you Sunni fuckers, you bunch of sellouts. You weren't real Muslims to begin with. And now you're basically in Israel's back pocket. We got no problem slapping you bastards around. And if you want some, come get it. Because none of the Gulf states, none of them could possibly stand a chance against Iran. None of them. What, you think Saudi Arabia is going to try and invade? No. Literally, they have nothing. They got nothing. So this is going to cost the Gulf states an enormous amount. The fact that we have the UAE asking us to give them money, that's crazy. That is hilarious. Oh yeah, we're gonna help you guys out because it's not like you're one of the richest countries in the world ever in history. But I will say this: hotel bookings in Dubai went from 80% occupancy to 10% occupancy. Bahrain, Abu Dhabi, basically all of the UAE, done. We've destroyed their economy, and I mean destroyed their economy. Think about this. The Burj Khalifa was this incredible engineering feat. The tallest building ever constructed by humanity. This monstrous thing that goes thousands of feet into the air, hundreds of stories. Now it's just a big fucking target. It's just a really easy fucking target. I don't know, man. I wouldn't want to live in the UAE right now. Yeah, well, Saudi Arabia did have a hell of a lot of hijackers on 9/11, didn't they? It's really strange about that. How many people were from Iran? Yeah, I love AI summary. Share your thoughts on this geopolitical situation. I'm all ears, man. I would love to know if somebody's got a completely different take, but I think that I think the world has now been divided up pretty much discreetly, of course. China will get Taiwan. Russia will get Ukraine. The United States will get Nicaragua and Colombia and El Salvador and Mexico. We'll be in control of Panama and Cuba shortly. The Western world is ours. Will Alberta become a state? If they decide to go it alone as a country, they'll have one of the largest economies in the world because of oil. But I think that economically and defensively, they would probably be happy to become the 51st state. The Democrats absolutely will not allow that under any fucking circumstances because it's a very, very conservative state with a tremendous amount of money. It would be like adding another state of Texas. That's how big a deal that is. However, if they were allowed to bring on something like maybe Puerto Rico which is clearly a very, very Democrat heavy state, very liberal state, then they might go for it. So we might end up with 52 states. And if we end up with 52 states, that'd be fantastic, because the reality is, the people who are running Canada and the province that they're in, they don't mean shit to us. They can keep their province, they can keep their capital, they can keep all that shit. We don't need any of it. Hell, we don't need anything other than Alberta. Alberta is the powerhouse of Canada. Very few people and lots of resources. Come on down, guys. Not only will we make you a state, but we'll treat you right. On top of the fact that next door might come with them. And that's totally okay with us. So we're going to own the Western world by hook or by crook. It doesn't, the whole thing about, well, what about, the fact that we're a Christian nation? Well, we're not anymore. Trump didn't put his hand on the Bible for a very specific reason. And that's fine. I think that that Christianity gave us a baseline of morals and ethics to work with that other religions do not have. They don't even pretend to have. They just don't have them. So it's going to cost us in that respect. There may be a call for some changes socioeconomically, but overall, being able to connect Alaska directly to the contiguous United States would be very powerful. And then if you add in Greenland and all of the islands in the Caribbean, the Gulf of America, and Mexico, of course, will eventually, once they figure out how to get drugs into the United States without Mexico, then the government will take over Mexico. But we need to be able to get drugs to whoever wants them, because that does two things. That narrows down the amount of people who vote, because A, felons don't vote, and B, drug addicts that are dead don't vote. And it disproportionately affects the poor. So totally awesome in every respect. Drugs are awesome for the people in control. The Epstein class loves them. And the CIA is not allowed to partake in any black ops that are taxpayer funded without reporting them to the Senate Oversight Intelligence Committee. Well, but what if they can pay for these ops themselves? What if they get money from outside of Congress? Well, then they don't have to report them at all. In case anybody wondered, why would the CIA want to have anything to do with Mena, Arkansas, or importing drugs or any of that shit? Freeway Ricky Ross or any of that. Did I know the head of state of Canada is King Charles? Yeah. So what? And he just came over here and we just had a really good old time with him, right? Well, so what? That means nothing to us. Literally, it means nothing. They had their shot at hegemony, and now it's our turn. And that's literally the way we look at it. Is who's in charge of London is not our problem. See how the gathering goes on Saturday. Who's gathering? Is it the Trilateral Commission or the Committee on Foreign Relations or Club of Rome or who? I mean, there's so many. There's so many of these secret societies, and it's funny because a lot of them are just bullshit, but a few of them are actually very, very influential. And you're not supposed to be able to figure out who's who. That's not That's not the idea. The idea is like, all right, let's just keep putting secret societies out there until everybody's so confused, like the Illuminati. Well, who are the Illuminati? Well, they were fighting against the religious persecution of scientists. Oh, so they're scientists. Yeah. So they're good. Well, they were. Okay, but what about now? Well, now apparently the Illuminati or the Freemasons and the baby eaters are all the same people. Okay, but illumination means to enlighten, right? So they want to enlighten people. Yeah. And that's bad? I don't know. Well, do they even really exist? I mean, Winston Churchill complained about the fact that everybody of any importance in his government seemed to be secretly Illuminati. Roosevelt said that his cabinet was chock full of people who were secretly Illuminati, and it pissed him off. But who are they now, and what do they want? What are they doing? And that's the thing. It's like people are like, "Oh, I'll tell you about it." No, you won't. Well, tell me shit. They're a secret society. Yeah, but these leaked documents, really? Okay. Who leaked the documents? Well, they did. Not suspicious at all. I can tell you this. If I ever leak documents about my actual agenda, you guys would be shocked at how fucking awesome I am. Yeah, because my leaked documents would be awesome. This guy's going to save the world. He can walk on water. Basically, he's kind of like the second coming, but not really. Close, though. Yeah, I'd leak some awesome documents about myself. Now, maybe I want to throw you off, so I leak some documents that, are total bullshit. Because I can then later, once you've told everybody what you found out about me, discredit you, and then you look like an idiot. I don't know. That's the problem. What happened to Bohemian Grove? Well, it's still going strong. It's still a bunch of guys who get together, and on certain days, none of them wear any clothes. They just walk around naked. Bunch of very powerful guys running around the woods naked like a bunch of hippies, and then they never talk about business or the future of the world or anything like that. They sacrifice a fake child, not a real child anymore, but they sacrifice a fake child to an owl, and they say that the sacrifice is actually care. They're sacrificing care, so they're giving up all of their cares in the world so they can relax and just have fun. Misinformation. Holy smoke. Now what? What did I get misinformation for? This is crazy. I got misinformation for what I think. I don't remember saying it was an absolute fact. I just telling you my opinion. But apparently, I've crossed the line too many times. Well, here's the thing. Since if you go on my channel, you can see that not only can you buy my book, which if you don't have now, you should have had it already. You should have ordered it. Shame on you if you haven't ordered it yet, because it's right there in my bio. And it is really important. And people have asked, well, can you send it to me as a PDF? Really? Because when the electricity goes off, the PDF is going to be in your computer, which will then be a paperweight. So no. I can send it to you as a PDF as a backup if you want, but I'm absolutely sending everybody a hard copy. It's not a choice, because you need the book so that when the lights go out, you still have a book to read about what the heck to do next. So, but other than that, I'm going to get off of here before I get in real trouble, because on my bio, it says I get one more restriction and then I'm kicked off of TikTok forever. And I'll still, for 2 years now, be at 119,000 900 people. Just apparently 120,000 is just a number I will never get to on this platform. It's okay. I got YouTube. Thanks, D-Fresh. Appreciate it. And all you guys on YouTube, thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right. Let's go. All right. Thanks for hanging in there with me so late. It is, it's only 10:40. Okay. Well, still 10:40. That's a long time. That's been 3 hours now. It's a good live stream.